Hi, good evening. My God, good evening, everyone. Happy Pride to all. I hope everyone is having a fine night and staying safe wherever you are, whether kayo nasa office, sa bahay, on the commute home. Thank you for tuning in this evening. My name is Jolly Astaris of Google Philippines, returning as your host once again for Google Pride Conversations. At the same time, very exciting, I'm actually going to be part of the panel this time. So I'm going to be sharing my thoughts and stories as well to you guys this evening. Can you believe it is a third year already of Pride Conversations? Sobrang bilis nga naman ng panahon. It's been such a joy to be part of this event, and we actually started Pride Conversations back in 2020 at the height of the pandemic to really celebrate our LGBTQ plus friends and create a sense of belonging during a very difficult time. And technology, of course, helped us to do so, which brings me to the theme of this year's Pride Conversations, championing LGBTQ plus and allyship in tech. So this 2022, we are shining the spotlight on app and web developers, UX designers, and tech professionals who help create safe spaces at allyship, both online and offline here in the Philippines. So we hope you're all excited for a night of fun, conversations, and learnings. And actually, ako rin, we have a star-studded cast, wow, of panelists today. So I'm really excited to learn from my fellow tech professionals and LGBTQ members, as well as some very fierce allies. So for all of you who are tuned in, please join our discussion tonight by using the hashtag Build with Pride. Again, that is hashtag Build with Pride in all of your social media posts. Right. Now, to formally open tonight's event, I am pleased to welcome Google Philippines Country Director and our fierce ally, Ms. Bernadette Nacario.
Good evening, everyone, and happy Pride. Thank you for joining us. In the past 2 years, I cannot stress enough how tech made it possible for all of us to navigate living in such uncertain times. And tonight, it's humbling to know that we will be meeting people who are making a mark in the tech industry and beyond. Before I introduce them, allow me to share Google's ongoing commitment to helping create an inclusive world where the Pride community can shine without prejudice. Among our efforts is our support towards nonprofit organizations. This year, Google and Google.org globally are providing almost $1 million in support of Pride Live, an advocacy group dedicated to fight for LGBTQ plus equality. We're also continuing our work on making our products much more inclusive. Starting in the US, we're enabling merchants to show LGBTQ plus friendly and transgender safe space attributes on maps and search as part of business profiles. Last year, we promoted small businesses owned by LGBTQ plus entrepreneurs and organized a digital workshop for them on social media. This local campaign is designed to help them reach more customers online amid the pandemic. To further support the community, Google collaborated with Food for the Gays, a Quezon City-based cafe owned by an LGBTQ plus couple, to provide the food requirements of the event. Now, to continue this initiative, we're doing the same this year, and this time with Butterboy Bakehouse and Commune Cafe. Butterboy is a local pastry shop run by Hildebrand Demeterio, together with his boyfriend, while Commune is a proud ally. Supporting the establishments is so important in sustaining spaces that create a sense of belonging for LGBTQ+. This evening, for the third edition of Pride Conversations, we hope to further the dialogue on how the community is making a mark while our speakers share personal stories of acceptance and the importance of allyship. We'll hear from Maki, who co-founded mytransgenderdate.com, Darwin, who started Tika to Me, an online event solutions platform, and also produced the popular BL series Boys Lockdown. We also have Christina, Mark, Sam, who are working on tech that improves financial services, talent recruitment, and live streaming, respectively. Our very own Jolly, who leads video and media sales at Google, is also here. And last, but certainly not the least, we'll hear from Ms. Malacha Bijan, who relentlessly uses her voice to promote equality. To all our speakers, thank you so much for sharing your stories, which I'm certain will inspire people wherever they may be watching us from. You know, I'm one of the people that you inspired all this time, and I'm happy that you continue to spread your wings to inspire more people. Platforms like this that tell inspiring stories about the community are crucial, but there's still so much more to be done for LGBTQ plus loved ones. Only if we work together towards cultural and policy change can we be in a world that is equal and without prejudice. Finally, as we reconnect with pride, may we remember the past, acknowledge the issues facing LGBTQ plus today, and show up for them in ways we can. Again, happy Pride, and let's continue to raise the rainbow flag high and champion stories of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Thank you very much.
Ayan, thank you, Dat, for that warm message and the call to build with pride. And also, big thank you to Butterboy, to Commune. Napakasarap ng inyong mga regalo sa amin. Thank you for the really good croissants. I'll try them out tonight. We have with us tonight, as Det mentioned, someone who is a beacon of light for the LGBTQ plus community. She is a graduate of communication from Ateneo de Manila University and is a writer by profession. She uses the power of words to stand up for the trans Filipino community. She is also a champion. She is also a champion of Soji and trans identity, and is a member of the Society of Transsexual Women of the Philippines, Patay Pilipinas, Love Yourself, and is also affiliated with the Philippine LGBT Chamber of Commerce and Philippine Financial Industry Pride. Napakaraming affiliations. Everyone, I am happy to welcome the first ever Miss Trans Global, Miss Malacha Bijan.
Mabuhay, Jolly! Maraming salamat for those kind words. Thank you so much for having me tonight. At sa lahat ng mga nanonood sa atin live na live sa kanilang mga tahanan, to the wonderful women, empowered gentlemen, and queer and non-binary people, mabuhay sa ating lahat. Magandang gabi, marhay na gabi, maayong gabi, and happy Pride, everyone. Ako po si Miss Malacha Bijan, your Miss Trans Global 2020, a Filipino, a proud transgender woman whose pronouns are she and her. When I was 4, ginusto kong maging Miss Universe. Yun nga lang ang sabi ng mundo, hindi pwede. Kasi hindi raw ako babae. Hindi raw ako Miss. When I got into high school, I dreamt of being a singer. Ginusto kong makita sa TV at bumirit ala Songbird, Regine Velasquez. Pero sabi ng mundo, hindi pwede. Kasi confusing daw ako. Lalaki ang boses, babae kumilos. Before graduating in 2008, I hope to apply to a multinational company that produces my favorite chocolate drink. I wondered if I could be its brand manager. Pero sabi ng mundo, hindi pwede. Because they only accept applicants that looks and acts professional. Men who do not wear dresses. Men who are not feminine. Men who exemplify masculinity. Sabi ng mundo, kapag LGBTQIA+ ka, wala kang karapatang mangarap. Kaya akala ko, wala akong puwang sa mundo. Para lumago, maging buo, lalong higit maging ako. Little did I know, I would meet 3 fairy godmothers along the way. Social media, digital world, tech. What powerful names they are. Ninang Tech became my space of freedom and empowerment. While Ninang Digital World was an open-minded platform which did not judge me as different. Instead, Ninang digital world saw my being trans and my being LGBTQIA plus as a leverage of potential. And finally, Ninang social media. She is a democratic arena that allowed me to seize and fly to opportunities for me to believe in myself. I can that I can be my best, that I am talented. I may not have been Miss Universe, but I was able to represent the Philippines, became the first ever Miss Trans Global. It's an international trans pageant. Staged in the middle of the pandemic, it's a testament that dreams do come true in the digital world. I never got to sing on TV, but through the digital space, through tech, I found my powerful voice. This voice that allowed me to speak for my causes, to tell inspiring stories, and to forward inclusive policies. My socials, my social media accounts were my means to amplify diversity, visibility, inclusion, and equality. And I was never part of the corporate workforce. But look at me today. I am speaking in a forum powered by Google, one of the most powerful things that mankind has created. Google allowing Filipinos, allowing people from all over the nations to learn, discover, and be who they are. And as I am here, hopefully you'll allow me to proudly claim I am part of Google family. Indeed, we have moved a step forward. I am no longer seen as a man dressing up as a woman. I am no longer seen as unprofessional. Rather, because of this opportunity to speak before you, I am appreciated for my message and for the impact that I could give for the change that we can lead. Kaya sa bawat pagkakataon na sinabi sa akin ng mundo, hindi pwede, ang sagot ko, posible. Because I am capable, I am able, and I am powerful. And so are you. Ikaw na nakikinig sa akin ngayon. Remember, you are power. Never be afraid. Be visible. Show who you are. Represent. Stand for what you believe in. And break free from the world that says, hindi pwede. Because there are 3 powerful things that could be your tools too. Tech, social media, and the digital world. Together, let's build with pride and reclaim your power. Magandang gabi po sa ating lahat.
Grabe. Our Miss Trans Global, Miss Malacha Bijan, kitang-kita naman kung paano siya nanalo ng Miss Trans Global. And of course, you know, you said you hope to be part of the Google family. You very much are welcome to the Google family. So
Thank you so much, Jolly.
Yes.
Yay! Cheers, kapamilya,
I love
kapuso at
it.
kapatid.
Power na power. May mga ating mga panelists na backstage ay umiiyak at this moment. So thank you very much, Mela. And we'll see you again in a bit. Bye. All right. Super. I hope that that rousing speech from Miss Mela actually got you all excited to begin tonight's conversation. I'm super excited to start because I feel like we're really going to pick up a lot of nuggets of wisdom from all of our speakers tonight. So let me introduce our speakers, beginning with our first guest, who is an accomplished user experience researcher and designer. She graduated summa cum laude from Georgia Institute of Technology with a bachelor's degree in industrial design, with certifications in cognitive and social psychology, and has over 10 years experience in the user experience field. Currently, she is the head of design at First Circle, an award-winning fintech company that champions SMEs. She believes in integrating the sciences and the arts in order to create tech that is beneficial to society. Virtually, palakpakan natin si Miss Christina Del Rosario. Hi, Christina.
Hi, Jolly. Thank you for having me. It's so nice to join Google at their Pride conversations this year, and I'm super excited to hear everybody's stories.
Awesome. Super excited to have you this year. All right, our next guest is a trailblazer in the local tech scene as the founder of Ticket to Me, the country's first and fastest growing integrated event ticketing, production, and video platform. At the height of the pandemic, he collaborated with various stakeholders to launch Doc to Me, a telemedicine and e-health service using Ticket to Me's technology. Outside of his techpreneurship, he is the vice president of external affairs at United Health Group, a Fortune 500 company. Here he is, Mr. Darwin Mariano. Darwin, hello.
Hello, Jolly. Magandang gabi po sa kanilang lahat, sa lahat ng nakikinig sa atin ngayong gabi. Natutuwa po ako at inimbitahan ako ng Google to join the Pride conversation. So I'm very happy to be here and looking forward to the conversation.
Very nice. Salamat, Darwin. We're also very honored to be joined by a Cebuana beauty queen and model. She is the brains behind mytransgenderdate.com, a platform that lets transgender women freely and safely connect with men. She believes that stopping the stigma on transgender relationships is one way we can normalize transgender individuals and is an important step towards accepting the whole spectrum of love. Everyone, please welcome Maki Gingoyon. Hi, Maki.
Hi, Jolly. Hi, Jolly. Hi, everybody. Maayong gabi kaninyong tanan. And I'm live all the way here from Cebu City. So hello and happy Pride to everybody.
Very nice. Thank you, Maki. Also joining us tonight is a user experience designer and researcher who currently leads UI design at PageUp. He uses his expertise on human-centered design, advocating for inclusive design, healthcare, and HIV/AIDS access. Excuse me. Outside of his UX and UI work, he is also an experienced public speaker, delivering talks at local and international tech events about decolonizing design, DE&I, and active transport. A strong design activist and advocate, he recently launched the first Rainbow Ride, a 53-kilometer ride to highlight the issues of the LGBTQIA community. I am pleased to introduce to you Mr. Mark Laksamana. Hello, Mark.
Hello, good evening, and thank you so much for inviting me. I am so excited for tonight. I hope we have a great evening. Thank you.
All right. Last and definitely not least, we have joining us a design professional who is currently the product designer for XSplit, enabling millions of creators around the world to live stream their content. She's also a community builder fueled by her passion for CSS, accessibility, and design systems. In fact, she co-manages Tambayan 404, one of the largest Discord communities for Filipinos in tech. She also founded the local CSS community, Manila CSS. Let's give it up for Sam Rose Cruz. Hello, Sam.
Hello. Thank you, Jolly. Magandang gabi sa lahat. Thank you for having me here, and it's an honor to be surrounded by wonderful people who believe in the same advocacy. Happy Pride.
Wonderful. Salamat, Sam. So before we start our roundtable discussion, I want to remind everyone again if you want to join our conversation, please use the hashtag #BuildWithPride. Again, that is hashtag #BuildWithPride on all your social media posts, so no matter what platform that is. So let me bring in first our first set of speakers. Actually, so let's begin. I think we're bringing everyone in first. Once again, happy Pride to everyone. Speaking of Pride, let's go around the room and tell me, what does Pride mean to you? So let's begin with Christina.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Jolly. To me, Pride is LGBTQ plus people and celebrating them living their authentic lives. It's an acknowledgement that we haven't always had the freedom to express who we truly are. Even 10 or 20 years ago, we wouldn't be able to live as openly as we do today. So I think it's a celebration of how far we've come and recognizing the people that fought for our place today.
Very nice. All right, next, Darwin.
I want to add to what Christina said. I think pride is also about opportunity and making sure that we try to take advantage all of the tools, resources that were not available to the people who were part of our community before. So, and I think that's the way to best honor those who sort of fought for whatever little freedoms or whatever little opportunities now that we enjoy.
Very nice. All right. Sam, para sa'yo, ano ang pride?
Yeah, so for me, pride is not being ashamed of who I am, na hindi ako sayang just because I'm a woman who happens to love women. So it's an unfiltered version of me and showing my true colors. And it's also a way of resistance against oppression that our community still experiences. So while it has indeed evolved into like a colorful and festive occasion, it's still deeply rooted from activism and remembering how much it took to get here and where we are today and how much work we still need to do. So there is the fear of not fitting in and being judged, but pride in wanting to change the status quo for the better is the feeling that's stronger than my fear. So ayun, that's pride for me.
Ganda. Salamat, Sam. Let's move on to Mark.
So
Halito, Mark.
there we go. So for me, pride is as well as Sam and Christina and Darwin has all mentioned. It is all of those, but to add on to that, because we understand that there's so much that we've come so far and we've gotten to where we are that we're enjoying so much more right now that we have to recognize that being as open as we are right now is revolutionary. But we still have to remember that there's still people that are left behind, and we have to use whatever we have, whatever privilege we have, to make sure that everyone enjoys those privileges. Because nobody is free until everyone is free.
Very nice. And lastly, Mackie, go ahead. What's pride for you?
Para sa akin naman, pride is more than just a celebration of freedom and our existence. I think pride should also be a reminder for everyone that there were people who fought for their rights to be treated equally. And through this reminder, we can continue what they have fought for and make a legacy to create a better world for our current generation and also for the generation to come. So the key point there is really a reminder that we should continue fighting for our rights and celebrate our existence. How about you, Jolly? What is pride for you?
No, pride for me is the ability to bring your complete self to everything you do, whether it's your work, your personal relationships, everyday conversations, and realizing, as Marcus said, that not everyone has the opportunity to be that. And we, as all of you have mentioned, we should all continually fight so that everyone will have the same kind of freedoms. So thank you all for your very inspiring, interpretations of pride. We're gonna deep dive into each of your fields a bit later. But for right now, we're gonna speak first to Mackie and Darwin. So Mark, Sam, Christina, I'll see you guys later. Bye. So let's begin with Mackie. How has your professional experience as a trans woman led you to the development of mytransgenderdate.com? I actually met my partner, by the way, through online dating as well. So I know that online dating can be a really truly safe space. But how has it helped you create this platform for transgender women?
Well, I think there's a very big difference between experiences among gay guys and transgender women when it comes to online. Or maybe there is a sort of similarities, but I want to focus more on my personal experience. And I believe my personal experience is as common as most trans women. May not be everyone experience the same thing as me, but I'm very confident that it's pretty much common among trans women who tried our very best to venture on online dating sites in the hope that finding that partner, that man who could accept us for who we are, who could love us for who we are. However, the sad reality of transgender dating sites back then, this is like around 2020, this is around 2012, and even prior to 2012, was very, very discouraging. Transgender online dating sites before were a mix of escorting and some sort of explicit content. So for me, it suffices to say that trans women were presented as merely sexual objects. And sadly, this stained the image of trans women online. And honestly, this image, even if just talking about it, reminiscing those times, that image hurts so much because we're not taken seriously. And I also believe that that kind of image leads to discrimination and most likely transphobic actions. On one hand, my partner, Cyril Mazur, who is a French trans-oriented man and who is the owner and CEO of mytransgenderdate.com, witnessed this scenario online. As a trans-oriented man is a term that we use for men who are attracted to trans women. So he did witness this kind of scene online, and for a trans-oriented man to search for a date, the best way and the easiest way is just to get online. But then again, looking for a genuine dating site is very difficult. And this is also the same, he also experienced the same thing. He also observed the same based on my experiences. So because of this led him to ask me if I'm willing to work with him to create a dating site for transgender women. And I'm like, oh, hold up. Wait a minute. I have this very specific experience where we are being sexually fetishized. We are seen as sexual object. So I was reluctant. I was super hesitant to be part of this game because as a trans woman, I don't want to get involved in a project that may contribute to the stain that has been long imprinted by online dating sites. So I was like, no, I'm not really sure if I am going to join you on this. However, he assured me that it's going to be a completely different dating site. It's going to be clean, decent, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to join you with this, but in one condition, I will have to co-create the dating site. In this way, I can assure myself and I can assure what project I am into to be really a clean, decent dating site for my trans sisters and for myself and for the trans women who are looking for men. So lo and behold, we created My Transgender Date because obviously there is a need for a safe space and a dating site for my trans sisters. So voila, the site was created back in 2013, and I'm so proud that we are serving 1.5 million trans sisters worldwide in connecting with their other half in a safe digital space, in a safe online dating site. So there you go.
That is amazing. That's a super inspiring story, and it's very mind opening because I think a lot of us maybe have tried online dating, but maybe don't realize how much more challenging it is for transgender women, for example. And we'll talk a little bit more about how you tweak the website to align with your vision a bit later on. But I'm gonna go to Darwin quickly here. So Ticket to Me makes it possible for all kinds of events, big and small. Do you take steps to ensure the content you make available through the platform is inclusive for the LGBTQ plus community?
Yes, Jolly, very much. Actually, the best way that we've done this is by creating LGB content ourselves.
Yeah.
I was mentioning to some of you offline while we were waiting for the program to start that I have been producing theater for a long time, including the musical adaptation of Ang Pagdadalaga ni Maximo Oliveros in partnership with the Philippine Educational Theater Association. And then over the lockdown, we produced a boys' love series that was very well received called Boys Lockdown. So I think it's important to show the community and the country that these kinds of stories can be successful, but also to be able to show our particularly kids growing up that who realize that they're different from their friends or their classmates, that you know what, there are stories like this, and that it's okay to be different. It's okay to develop, to love who you want to love, and that the rules that you grew up under may not necessarily be the hard and fast rules that you thought they were as you get older.
Right. I actually did watch Boys Lockdown and a lot of
Okay.
so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Jolly,
Sorry.
I have a question for Darwin. I'm just really
Sure.
curious.
Go, Maki.
Because I also wanted to be a star when I was younger. But of course, growing up as a person who was assigned male at birth, I have to be a person, I have to be in character, or I have to be an actor as a male. So do you think there is more opportunity for trans women to be part of theater? Or perhaps, do you think there could be a possibility na siguro may makikita pa tayong artista on TV as playing as a trans woman, or maybe as a cisgender woman?
Yes, actually, right now, we are in the development stage of another show that will have a trans woman character in the cast. So I think by pushing forward, then you are able to create more stories that showcase that celebrate the differences. I don't think it's because of any sort of, on the part of the producers kasi, I think as producers, we really want to tell these stories. The challenge is monetizing and parang supporting it with a business model that keeps you producing the content. And this is where platforms like, for example, Google's YouTube has been very important, because after we did, our platform kasi is ticketed. So you pay to watch created content. But afterwards, in order to extend the life of content, we upload it to our YouTube channel. So that allows us as creators of content to sort of provide a stronger, parang sustainable source of funding so that we can create the shows further. So I think the market is changing, and I think very, very confident that there will be more stories na I think, which is why BL was such a groundbreaking genre, diba, when it hit. Because it showcases stories na sobrang fresh sa'yo, na parang, oh nga, no? And these are very, very interesting stories. And I think we need more of those.
Yeah, because a lot of LGBTQ love stories are always sort of parang tragic and focus on parang the painful parts of it. But once parang BL made gay relationships parang, and treated them like a normal relationship, that's when it really kind of took off, and parang people saw a lot more of themselves represented on screen, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So let's go back to Mackie. And Mackie, you could totally be a star. I'm not sure if you watched Killing Eve. Do you watch the show Killing Eve? It's a great show. And you give me like Jodie Comer vibes. So just look her up. I'm sure you'll see it.
Maki, you are easily an actress. We will let you know kapag merong we have projects in the pipe for you.
Oh, I'm so interested.
If you're interested. Okay.
I love it. My live casting na naganap.
Live casting na naganap.
Okay. So Mackie, ito, mytransgenderdate.com is the first platform of its kind, providing safe dating spaces for trans women all over the globe. So what philosophies did you and your co-founders live by to ensure that it aligned with your vision for the website? Are there like specific guidelines that you put on the website so that we prevent some of the pitfalls that you mentioned earlier?
Thanks, Jolly, for bringing that up, because it's one of the challenges that we always encounter, or that we encounter, the whole the whole idea of creating a dating site. We need to be fair, we need to be transparent with our members, and we need to make sure that we make our members feel comfortable. So to give you an insight of how our dating site works, my partner and I have our own personal account as admin account, so that when members needs help, aside from a support system that they could actually contact us through email, they could easily reach us through the site. In that way, there is transparency and people would be feeling so comfortable. Okay, here are the owners of the site, so I can definitely talk to them and I can definitely ask questions or I can definitely raise concerns. On top of that, I want to highlight the core values of our site. So we have 5, and that's integrity, empathy, and genuine care. Be sensitive and open-minded, and good work takes time. Also, exceed expectations. So I'm just gonna go ahead and share to you briefly. Integrity, we wanted to be honest. We wanted to be fair. We wanted to be ethical. We wanted to enforce our rules and regulations and the community guidelines equally to all our members. No one gets a free pass, even the paying members. Empathy and genuine care. We treat our family, knowing, by the way, that our site employs mostly transgender women. So we treat them like a family. We treat our members like friends. And we make sure to understand their concern, their struggles, so that we will be able to communicate with them. Because now there are just a lot of email support and you're just gonna get like a robotic response. We wanted to make our members feel that they are talking to someone behind those emails. That's what empathy and genuine care for us. Sensitive and open-minded. We want to be inclusive for our members of all countries, backgrounds, and cultures. However, I have to be very transparent that there are we can't please everybody. As much as possible, we're going to be inclusive. Take, for example, this may be too much, but there are transgender women who do not wish to transition. And apparently our site is not ready for that yet. Perhaps we have to learn more on how we could gauge and play into the spectrum of dating and relationship in catering transgender women who do not wish to transition and look feminine. But overall, we wanted to be open-minded and understanding. Of course, good work takes time. At the moment, we are developing our mobile application, but we don't want to release half-baked things. So we are building a high-quality, world-class service that will thrive for years. And one of the things that I want to highlight is we are receiving so much questions about trans lesbians. So currently, our site offers only for transgender women who are looking for a male partner. And apparently there are inquiries from trans lesbians. Why is it that we can't sign up as a transgender woman and search for a transgender woman? And this is a very good example of good work takes time, because we just don't want to release or cater the site to trans lesbians without even studying the market of the lesbian community. Because I'm a straight transgender woman, I'm only attracted to men, and if I'm going to cater it to trans lesbians, I don't know anything about dating of trans lesbians. So it needs to be discussed. It needs research before we are going to cater it to the trans lesbians community. Next is exceed expectations. I want to go back to the example I had earlier when it comes to email. We want to make our members feel that they are talking to a real person. They're talking to a support who cares for them. So we wanted always to make sure that they are being taken care of, their concerns are taken care of and being understood. So we live by those core values so that we will be able to maintain our site's quality.
Very nice. You know, one thing I learned from now hosting Pride conversations for the last 3 years is that, you know, just because you're gay or lesbian doesn't mean you know exactly what transgender women go through, or, right? It's an entire spectrum of very different experiences, right? And I think what's interesting about what you said is that even in the transgender community, you may not understand all the things that needs to be understood about, you know, trans lesbians, for example, and how dating works for them. So I think just the fact that we're constantly learning about each other, I think is such a healthy thing. But as you said, it's always a work in progress.
Jolly, I have to add something about it because we know for a fact how lack of education when it comes to SOGI
Yes.
towards Filipino community. So even SOGI alone is so difficult to penetrate or to explain it to everybody. I'm just hoping that we could penetrate the educational, or probably add it to the curriculum so that people would understand, or even younger people could understand. The reason why I'm discussing about this, because even in our site, there are those who are so confused that they actually refer themselves as a gay guy, or they refer themselves as a transgender woman, and it's showing otherwise. Although I cannot really tell them that you are a transgender woman or you are a gay guy, because you're the only one who could identify yourself, right? But then it's pretty much obvious that a transgender woman is a transgender woman. But then because of the lack of education, especially when it comes to SOGI, there are really a lot of our trans sisters who are still confused. And good thing is that we always educate them through our email support. So we've got definitions, and we also have terms and definitions on the site, so that in a way we are helping the community.
That's 100%. I think there's some chat going on backstage saying that, you know, in Filipino we just call it bakla, but there's such a spectrum when it comes to SOGI, and it's a combination of sexual orientation and gender identity and expression. I remember actually when I came out, I had to educate my mom about that as well. And it'll be good so that, you know, the future generations of kids already know it from the beginning, to actually have that in our educational system. So yeah. Let's go to Darwin. Darwin, so as executive producer of the internationally acclaimed Voice Lockdown, why do you think it's important? We talked about this a little bit earlier, but why do you think it's important for media to feature more optimistic LGBTQ plus stories?
Actually, so we're very proud to report that we now have over 10 million views on YouTube for our series. So, and there continue to be fans and comments from all over the world. We are internationally distributed, many countries. Pero to answer your question, Jolly, I think it was very important for us. And when I was talking to our director, Jim Castro, this was at the height of the pandemic, no, when the lockdowns were first being implemented, and this was the period of the strictest lockdowns. We wanted to show people that there was something to look forward to after. That was one. But more importantly, what we wanted to do was, while we were all facing the same storm, the term that we were using at that time was, we were not all riding the same boats. Some boats were more comfortable, some boats were more difficult. And what we wanted to do was, growing up, ako kasi wala akong stories like this. All of the TV shows, the films about gay people that I watched growing up, as you mentioned, were dark. They were dying from HIV. They were raped, or they were abused as kids, or and then hindi happy ending. So what we wanted to do when that BL genre from Japan, yan, diba? So when BL from Japan and then spread throughout Southeast Asia, and we, like many here, we watched the Thai BLs and we were enamored by it. Sabi namin, we want to make stories like that for Filipinos, so that you would have a generation of young people growing up seeing for themselves that you could have the love stories, the kilig love stories that you were shown in media all your life, pero now showing people that were like you. And I think that really was the secret behind the success of the show and of the many other Filipino shows that were produced during that era, because we were so hungry for it. It was very, very different na parang, for example, two young boys falling in love. Di ba? Parang hindi mo nakikita yon. And then for many, happy ending. That was an important criteria for us. We must give these characters the happy ending that we have been denied for so long.
Yeah. And I love that it's just focused on the kilig and the love aspect, and parang no one was questioning their sexuality throughout the entire thing. Very similar to how, let's say, Schitt's Creek was such a huge success as well, because they were living in an environment where parang their sexuality was just accepted and was all about the love that these characters had for each other.
Yes, actually kaya ganun din yung story namin. We did not want to talk about coming out. We didn't want, kaya parang we were called the fluffiest or the Disney whatever of Pinoy BL. But that was really intentional. There was a whole range of shows that were available to watch at that time. But we really consciously wanted to take the lightest, happiest, fluffiest route, because that was what we wanted to make as creators then, because that's what we felt people wanted, na parang ang lungkot-lungkot na natin dahil sa pandemic. We wanted to show them na ay meron palang kilig, ay meron palang happy ending.
Very nice. Darwin, Becky, I wish I could talk to you forever, but maybe we'll get a bit more of a chance a bit later on. But thank you so much for sharing your stories. And now we'll bring in our second group of panelists. We'll be talking about their experiences in their industries in tech. So thank you again, Darwin and Mackie. All right, let's bring in our next set of speakers. We have Christina, Mark, and Sam. There they are. Hello.
Hello.
I've been enjoying our side chats in in the comment section. Like I know we've been like agreeing with a lot of the points that have been talked about today, but I want to get your point of view for the three of you. So what do you feel is the role of tech in creating safe spaces and allyship for the LGBTQ plus community? So I guess you can start with Christina. What do you think is the role of tech in that aspect?
Sure. Yeah, I think that tech has really been a godsend to the LGBTQ plus community in terms of safe spaces that we have online, where we can gather together, ask for advice, and offer support to other people. Just as an example, I know hardly any lesbians in my personal life, but I've felt the support of so many lesbians online. And I think the great thing that tech has done for us is to really connect us all and to let us know that we're not alone. Social media as well has given a great platform for people to share their personal stories. So personally, I follow a lot of trans and non-binary content creators because it helps me be a better ally so that I can share their points of view with other people. And then on a personal note, my life is really deeply, deeply impacted by tech. 9 years ago, I met my wife on a dating app for women looking for other women. And tech has really changed my life and given me a safe space to find love, right?
Beautiful. All right, let's go to Mark. What about you?
So, I guess for me, like the role of tech in terms of LGBTQIA people, I guess I'd like to reverse that by saying LGBTQIA people have always had a role in tech. Because if we go back in history, we wouldn't be here speaking in front of our computers, online, etc. if it wasn't for a gay man in Great Britain in World War II. I'm talking about Alan Turing, who basically what they call this, decoded the Nazi code, and he is known as the father of modern computer science.
Yeah.
Then even going further, most of our computers today wouldn't be where they are now if it wasn't for Lynn Conway, who was a transgender woman who worked for IBM and changed the way our microprocessors work. So like the role of tech in terms of for LGBTQI people, it's not really that, but it's LGBTQI people have always had a role in tech because this is our space. And moving from that, I myself, like as with everyone here, I think I will say probably I've met my partner online, and it's been my safe space as well. I grew up in the late 90s and 2000s where learning how to code and learning like all these nerdy things that essentially made my career today, I learned that from a very welcoming online community. This was the era of Blogspot, where etc. things like that, like all those old things that just helped us learn so much because it was just a very open community where you could be anything you want. And for me, like that was my thing, and that helped me get into it. And little did I know, like we were always here. We like drag queens really got into tech during the pandemic, and they helped me like get through most of the pandemic depression. Like some of my favorite content providers who are in tech, who work in tech, are actually drag queens who are talking about tech. One of my favorite content creators right now in tech, her name is Analytical, who is a Google engineer in New York. And
Wow.
we actually, yeah, we send messages back and forth on Instagram, just talking about drag and tech. She's still trying to push me to make a drag channel out of UX, but I don't know my makeup shade anymore, so I'm sorry.
I will look up Analytical. Incidentally, if I thought about what my drag name would be because I thought because I live in Mandaluyong, it would be Mandalu Young would be my.
Ah.
My drag
Nice.
name. Oh, I used to actually I used to actually do drag before the
Oh, you
pandemic.
do? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, my drag name was Euthanasia.
Okay. I love it. All right. Sam, what about you? Yeah, what do you think is the role of tech?
Yeah, basically medyo same din sa kanila. So to ang tawag ito, to summarize it in a bit. So for me, tech has helped in three things among others. So one is community, another is understanding, then lastly is preserving history. So for us in the LGBTQIA plus community, there are spaces where we feel accepted and we are proud of who we are. And when the pandemic hit, a lot of those places have lessened, and businesses, bars, cafes, and other
Mhm.
safe spaces for the community are either temporary closed or permanently closed.
Yeah.
So ayan, we were confined in our own homes, hoping to keep our communities and families safe from COVID-19, and many of us felt isolated. But our community has always been about showing up for people, and we're continuing to show up for people. And we keep on reminding people that it's about belonging and reminding people that we are not alone. And ayun, so thanks to technology, it gave rise to internet communities, which dati na namang meron, pero ayun, we get to connect ulit dahil nga sa sa technology, even despite of the pandemic. And it has helped people find support groups and communities online where we feel safe and connected again. And this is actually also the yung birth ng Tambayan 404, kasi basically Tambayan 404 is composed of three community managers of different communities, design and tech communities. And basically, na-burn out kami with, community management. Kasi, syempre, sanay kami sa meetups eh. Tapos hindi namin alam paano namin i-keep yung community alive. So, ginawa namin yung Tambayan 404, two of which are actually part of the LGBTQIA community, two out of three. Then, ayun, it's a safe space for everyone. And what we're proud of in Tambayan is it's actually self-policing, na tipong we don't need to like handhold people and like yung kami mismo yung magmo-moderate. It's the community who moderates the community. And ayun, so that's something I'm proud of, and yeah, that's one role of it. And another is basically it's a primary instrument of being informed. So tayo rin naman, as you mentioned nga kanina, 'di ba? Hindi porket bakla tayo, alam na rin natin yung struggles ng ibang nasa community kasi it's a large spectrum. So it's a good way to inform ourselves. Like it's one, alam mo yun, isang search lang on like Google just to inform ourselves, or ayun, be part of the community or like follow the right people so we can get informed. And another is, of course, not just us, but also allies and would-be allies get to inform themselves and like arming themselves, and kung paano nila mapoprotect din yung community and how they can support people. So, ayun, that's a lot of learning and also unlearning. And lastly, ayun nga, it has helped us in preserving our history. So, for years, we have fought back against oppression and fought for equal rights. And technology has helped us bring these stories to people around the world. And these are stories from people years ago who we owe our voices to and why we're here. And there are more stories that we have yet to hear. And thanks to technology, we get to hear that. So, ayun. So, three things: community, finding understanding, and preserving history.
Ganda. Ikaw, Sam, but do you have a drag name? Bilang discussion ito
Oh.
sa back.
Hindi ko siya naisip.
Yeah, mamaya. Mag-isip ka muna.
Pag-iisipan ko based on Pasig.
Sige. Christina, do you have a drag name? You don't.
I don't, but please make one for me.
At the end of this, everyone will have a drag name. All right. Speaking for myself, I feel super privileged to be part of Google. We've been, I think Google is one of those companies where the support for Pride and LGBTQ plus is not lip service. It's been a very consistent kind of support, and I think it shows because we've been doing these Pride conversations events for the last many years, but also being in charge of YouTube. I'm super proud of the fact that it's become a platform for the stuff that Darwin and other story makers, put their content into. So dahil doon, stories like Boys Lockdown are able to reach tens of millions of viewers, which I think is a really great thing. And also YouTube has its own kind of events like YouTube Fan Fest, where we not just feature but also really celebrate the community. And we've even had a lot of creators like Tita Christian Chino, Mikey Bustos, all be part of those types of events. So very privileged to be part of Google and really taking advantage of the kind of reach that digital has these days to really socialize all these types of stories and give more representation to the community. So I guess next question is, in your line of work, how do you cultivate a safe and inclusive environment for the community? I think we can start with Mark this time.
Well, I guess I have to preface this with the fact that, at least from where I came in with this story, I was only coming in as a person in leadership positions. And that's the thing, at least for many of us who are LGBTQIA coming into like leadership positions, when we ourselves are super open and it's like super genuine with our presentation in the office, it helps other people feel safe to actually be themselves. I particularly have this great story because, like, I myself have experience trying to tone myself down in tech spaces and in like previous tech jobs. But the moment that I got like the power and the privilege to actually come in and be a leader and step into leadership positions, I told myself like I would not step down. I would not tone myself down or I would not hide the fact that I was dating this, I was dating that. The fact that I became so open with that, with my previous jobs, or especially when I was in leadership, actually got into or became a really, really good stepping point. Where I remember in one of my previous jobs, we, at least on the day that I had to, or at least on my last day, because I gave my resignation because I was moving on, I was graduating. It was an amazing place. I got a message from one of the engineers. And that's the reality with tech. Like there is some kind of programming culture that people still push or still are forced against. But he messaged me saying, Mark, I just wanted to thank you for being so open with who you are, because that helped me become so open with who I am. This engineer, who was at that moment becoming the lead engineer, he was just like 2 months ago, started introducing his partner to us in the office, who's another man. And that for me, like, I didn't realize like being as authentic as I am could change that much when it comes to people. And that's why I continue to do that. But beyond that, I also try to remind people that no, like gay people, queer people have always been here. You're not gonna you just can't say that this is something new. We've always been here. It's just that now we want to make sure that people can live as authentic as they can.
Perfect. That's great. Sam, what about for you?
Yeah. So for me, I think first we need to address na gone are the days where we can say na you have to leave your emotions and problems at home when you're coming into work. So, kasi di ba dati, when you step foot in the office daw, parang you have to, leave your problems. And we're humans. It's only natural that whatever we're carrying will definitely affect our work. And some might just carry it well, like compared to others. Like yung iba, yun yung outlet nila eh. So this includes yung worries and problems that the community may experience. So whether they are out or not. And as colleagues or leaders, we should help carrying that weight when they come to work. Kasi basically us na out, it's actually a privilege to be out. And yeah, when you're out about your gender identities, we have this responsibility also to create space. Kasi by being out, we are actually encouraging dialogue. Yun nga, sabi ni Mark, na because of him being him, other people are more open sa kanila. Like, meron talagang programming culture din talaga. So, kaya ayun. So, these conversations, like, they might not be, something that they can open up to others unless, yun nga, may kilala sila na out na. And so we have to, another thing is that we have to make sure that leaders don't just idly stand by for for like having those kinds of like discrimination or anything in the workspace. So I workplace. And basically by giving space for people to have like dialogue and like to be open about their problems, you're giving them like the best environment to be their most productive self without having to worry about any other external worries. Kasi, kunwari, meron kasi di ba microaggression, and I don't believe in microaggression kasi it becomes macro aggression kasi it piles up eh. And, ayun, so, kung merong space na they think they're safe, they don't have to worry about those kinds of things, and they can do their best work, and there's more chances of them staying because you have a healthy culture. So, yun.
Very nice. I like what you said. It's a privilege to be out, and therefore there's almost parang a responsibility to parang help create that safe space for everyone. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. Christina, what about for you?
I mean, I just echo what both Mark and Sam have said, where I think that the best way that I can create an inclusive work environment for other people in the community is to live authentically. At work, I speak about my wife in the same way that my straight colleagues would speak about their spouses. And when you think about the fact that almost half of LGBTQ plus employees feel that being out at work would do harm to their career, being a positive example of somebody who is out in a leadership position, living a fulfilling life and with a successful career, that really makes a difference to them. And like Mark, I've had also some people message me saying, just thank you for being so transparent about who you are. It helps them feel like this company and this work environment that I'm in will accept me for who I am. And besides just, living my true self, I think workplace policies also really matter. I remember that my wife's head of HR at the time, she really fought the healthcare provider for my right to be included under her HMO. And it makes a huge difference to us when we have champions and allies in the workspace. And I hope that we can be those people for others.
Sana all.
I would say sana all.
I mean, sana all yun sa insurance. Ganun.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, what about you, Jolly? I mean, how can workplaces and colleagues cultivate safe and inclusive environments?
Yeah, I think 100% agree with you and Mark in saying that parang people in leadership positions need to be a bit more open about who they are and their identity, because it's we become sort of beacons or examples to others that being LGBTQ does not limit your career within a company. And I also love what you said about companies actually putting their money where their mouth is. Like a lot of companies can say, "Oh, we're parang we love LGBTQs, we're one with pride and everything," but if the benefits that a company has don't necessarily reflect that, then much of it is just corporate speak versus actually sort of living what they say. So, and I'll talk a little bit about how my friends and I from Facebook actually tried to work that for the tech industry a bit later on. But within Google, there's a number of resources as well that helps to educate other Googlers. I think Mackie mentioned that Soji education is so important, and there are resources in Google that actually allow that for that to happen. So there's like a link where people can go and they'll see all of the different FAQs on what is being transgender, what does it mean, how is it different from being gay or lesbian, et cetera, et cetera. So just having that resource is super helpful. And I think also, very simple things such as having your preferred pronouns be in your profile at work is such an important thing to foster respect with each other. And even something that we've done in our Google Meet calls is that you can actually put your preferred pronouns right beside your name, so that in a meeting, even when you're meeting someone for the first time, you already know what pronouns to address them by. So small things like that actually really help in creating a more inclusive work environment. All right. Next question. How has being LGBTQ contributed to your work as your actual work as a product designer or a tech professional? And maybe you can start with Christina this time.
Yeah, I think the number one strength that I can have as a product designer is empathy. So deeply understanding the people that we build our products for, to understand that their needs, desires, and aspirations. And being part of the LGBT community, that is so complex. Each person has their own stories and journeys. Like a lot of things that we've been through, it really has made me a more empathetic and sensitive designer. And another way that it's contributed to my work is it helps me push universal design. So how can I design a product that works wonderfully for everybody, including people who might be colorblind or people with low literacy or people who have never used a smartphone before? And so being part of the LGBT plus community helps me understand how other communities are often overlooked in tech and design, and it pushes me to design better products for them.
Nice. What about you, Sam? Let's go to Sam.
Okay, so ayun, I'm lucky to be part of a team that has diversity, and I work with people who have different races, different genders, ages, backgrounds, and this has helped build a culture where everyone can share ideas and bring more ideas to the table. And being part of the community has helped me, ayun nga, same then, develop empathy and like see my work through other people's eyes and address the diverse needs of our current and future users, and ayun, build a product that is truly for everyone. So part of this is basically thinking and asking like who our users are ba, and where are they located, what's their age, what's their gender identity, how's their access to technology, and etc. So that understanding and empathy has helped me become a better product designer, to continuously like improve our products and and bake this into like our process as well as a default. So one very simple example that I can give you is designing forms. So I bet like most of us has encountered a form that asks you your gender and you are presented with these options: male, female, other. So, 'di
Mm.
ba? Like yung third option, that's definitely othering. And by
Mm.
providing solutions that try to, address the gender spectrum, which is very wide. Which in this case, it's quite simple. Yung pwede mong gawin. Instead of like being forced to have to choose from limited options, 3 options, you're free to write the gender identity in a text box, di ba? So, ayun, by giving option to people who do not identify as from the choices that other products make, we can make our customers feel that we care and like their expression and identity matters to us. Ayun.
Very nice. Yeah, it's literally othering by having having them as other in the option. Mark, what about for you?
So for me, like being part of the LGBTQIA community and like being an alphabet person in that sense, um, it just as Christina said, like it makes you more empathic. But I take empathy like to a deeper level because I know how like a lot of times in tech we throw around empathy or the word empathy a lot, and it
Yeah.
can become so robotic. But the reality is like putting it down to like where your mouth is, because we can't, or people, designers, developers, can't build, can't design, or can't understand, or can't say anything that they themselves don't experience. Like you cannot know what you don't experience yourself, and I've always said that, and that just me knowing that I don't know everything makes me so much more humble about understanding what else everyone else is experiencing. There's an old adage that one of my really really good friends from the US told me through her talk, which was in her talk, saying that in the olden times when miners would go into like a new mine that they just basically blasted, to make sure that there were no dangerous fumes, they would send in a dove or a bird, and if that dove came back, it means it was safe. For us, for LGBTQIA people who are working in tech, we are that dove. We are actually the ones sent in there, understanding what can be dangerous for people, because that's the reality that we have to face. That the things that we make can cause harm or can cause great things, can create great things and can cause harm. If we are there at the forefront saying that this can cause harm, we are able to save so much more people. So that's what we are. We're the canaries in the cave. We're saying this can do great things, this can do bad things. We're essentially what Pink said when she said we are searchlights we can see in the dark, because we really can. And
Yeah.
that's our superpower as people like this.
Yeah, beautiful. I talked about Pride at Tech earlier. So that was a group that some of me and some of my friends from Google and Facebook had put together back in 2018. And actually, when we first started it, we just thought, oh, we need more. Parang we thought about representation in the tech and the advertising industry. And you might think, well, there's a lot of LGBTQ people in the industry, and you'd think that there's enough representation there. But actually, kulang pa rin. Because I think the unique thing about Google and Facebook sort of coming together was that we were a lot more progressive as far as the kind of benefits that we had within our companies, and we wanted other companies in the industry to be able to organize and actually ask for the same benefits within their own workplaces. So I thought that was a really powerful thing to come out of Pride at Tech. But beyond that, actually, because you were parang organizing people in the advertising and tech industry, we were actually able to, with the help of Propel, which is an agency that's also owned by an LGBTQ couple. They were able to to create a virtual Pride March in 2021. So as you know, we weren't able to have a physical Pride March, but they were able to create sort of an app that was sort of linked to Google Maps, where whatever walk you're doing on June 25th is essentially your pride walk for the day, and you can just sort of mark it and share it on social media. So in that sense, everyone was still doing their pride walk. So those kind of small things and organizing the community actually really helps quite a lot in this initiative. One final question for this panel. We've talked a lot about creating safe spaces for the community. what else do you think we should do to create more of these things? Maybe we can start with Sam.
For me, it always boils down to education, and
Yeah.
basically by informing ourselves, not only do we become prepared in addressing the needs of our community, but we also create understanding and develop empathy for people and learn our history and appreciate how far we've come and continuing to do the work. So we foster dialogue, we share stories, and we stand beside each other. Another thing that we have to acknowledge is that when we create more spaces for the community, it's not about who's winning or who's leading. So it's not about the vanity metrics of who has the most members. It's like the more spaces we have, everybody wins because we win when we all come together for the same goal. So basically, diba, alone you can do so little, but together we can do so much. So creating community starts with belongingness, and that belongingness can eventually become a power of change. Ayun.
Very nice. Mark?
I guess for me, like, how can we build more spaces? For me, it's all about like understanding as well, understanding like the intersections of who we are and how we identify. Because like understanding the intersection makes you understand your privileges as people to actually, and with that, you actually understand how much more you can give or where you can give more. Like for me, I understand like I am queer, but I am also like number one, I'm also HIV positive. But with that, but then again, I was also born kind of like very, very financially privileged. So it gives me space to understand people, but also it gives me makes me understand that wait, there's more people we need to invite, and that's the goal there. We need to invite more people so that we can actually pull out a chair, or not just pull out a chair, create a better table for people.
Yeah, full table. Christina, what about you?
So all of the speakers that we've had today, they've literally been, the beacons of light of the community. They've literally created these safe spaces for us, right? Like for example, Mackie was doing it for dating, creating a safe space where you can date others. Darwin was creating films and theater productions that where he could share the LGBTQ plus stories. Mark has organized some pride activities, and Sam has created online spaces. But if I'm addressing like the rest of the audience who's watching now, creating an individual, like a person, can be a safe space too. If you are a person who other people know that they'll be accepted and listened to without judgment, that really makes a huge impact to them. Sorry, I'm getting emotional. So the way that we can be that person is to, like Sam said, educate ourselves. I think the easiest way to do this is to listen to the LGBTQ plus community stories. You can follow some content creators online. Always use positive language when we're talking about people in the community, and never assume anybody's sexuality or gender identity. And if you are part of the community and you have the privilege to live openly, I'm sorry, and you have the privilege to live openly, please do it, because that allows us to be an ally for other people who aren't ready. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Go ahead.
Setting it up, Christina.
Thank you, Christina.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I know. I wish we could all sort of give each other virtual hugs. And I think, as everyone said, it really boils down to education, really going into Soji 101 and having workplaces make that be part of orientations, actually. I think is going to be just a very, very important step. And also representation. And I guess more stories coming out about the lighter side of being LGBTQ, or talking about or taking out the stigma from something like having HIV, for example. I think having those stories out there for millions of people to see will be a really important step in creating more of these safe spaces. I do want to bring in the earlier panelists, including Mela, so we can all give Christina a hug together. So Mackie, Darwin, Mela, come on in. All good.
Hugs, Tina.
Hugging you right now, Tina.
So for the rest of you, I guess same question. How do you think we can continue building even more safe spaces online? I think let's start with Mackie.
Um, for me, I think it's really good if we are going to take advantage of the resources that we have right now. Like, for example, technology to amplify the stories of LGBTIQ community, just like what Tina said earlier, Christina, and invite allies to participate in the discussion. It's not just all about us. We should actually be we should let this also be their safe space to ask questions that lead to better understanding of our fight. We need to be open to our allies so they will understand us more. The fight to be accepted and not just tolerated and protected by the government through the passing of the SOGI bill. We can take advantage of online spaces, just like what Google is doing right now. And for that, thank you, Google, for hosting this. We can only imagine the number of audience that we can reach if we keep on continuously doing this. These types of events highlights the issue that concern the LGBTIQ plus community. For example, I am bringing to you, for example, the stigma towards trans dating. And I am bringing this to you. Me being invited here, again, which I am so grateful, shed some light on the topic that remains taboo up until now, not just in the Philippines. Having a mainstream platform to talk about this is the beginning of normalizing trans dating and probably all other kinds of dating. So yeah, let's talk more about this. Let's do this more often, even after Pride. Can we do that, please?
Of course, all year round, we should do it. Darwin, what about you?
Yes.
You're already casting people in the chat. So
actually, for people naman in my space, I think it's really important to keep telling the stories, keep creating the stories, and that's why platforms like YouTube have been really groundbreaking for us, because we can bypass the traditional gatekeepers of content, many of whom would usually not allow these kinds of stories to make it to mainstream. But if we can demonstrate kasi success online, then it becomes easier for us to open doors through the traditional channels. So for example, just sharing our experience with Boys Lockdown, when we became a hit on YouTube, then we got inquiries from mainstream distributors, including, for example, local distributors. We were actually airing for free on a digital channel in the Philippines. It was late at night. It was Heart of Asia, specializing in digital Asian telenovelas. But still, we were able to completely air for free on digital TV. That would not have been possible without earlier success on platforms like YouTube. So kami, I think, importante talaga to keep sharing these stories, but on our side, keep making these kinds of shows so that you really have a generation of people who may have been afraid, but now when they see themselves or their stories come to life, probably give them a bit more courage. And then slowly it becomes a more educational experience, not just an entertaining experience. Up until that time nga, dahil kasi many people have said na we need to get into the education debate, we need to get into that whole conversation around SOGI. At least in my space, what we promise my community that I'm part of and everyone that's here, we will keep making these stories. Mahirap man. It's not an easy business to be in. It takes a lot of resources, a lot of talent, a lot of sacrifice, in fact. But we will keep making these stories because they're important to us. And I think they really will be an important step to be able to change and accomplish the things that we're all fighting for.
Wonderful. And last but not least, Mela, what about for you?
First and foremost, Jolly, Tina, Mark, I call you MK, Darwin, my sister Mackie, and Sam. Thank you for sharing your victories, because these victories are crucial into understanding how we are at right now in terms of LGBTQIA plus advocacies, the little things that we do, a lot of kids are appreciating right now. And talking about building safe spaces, number one, I think we should go back to ourselves. As mentioned a while ago by Sam, education is very important. And education will always entail our self-assessment. Have we become safe spaces too? How do we treat others in terms of the LGBTQIA plus activism? Because some of us can claim that we are part of the community, but as mentioned by Christina, we aren't allies of the rest of the alphabets. There is also a dissonance in terms of safe spaces if we don't become one to our members of the community. So evaluate ourselves. Sa paanong paraan ba tayo nagiging ligtas na espasyo para sa mga kapatid natin sa komunidad? Because if we don't evaluate that, then we couldn't be part of the larger the larger battle, which was mentioned by Maki, the passage of SOGI Equality Bill, putting it out there. Number two, as we evaluate ourselves, maybe we could unlearn of the traditions that we've been used to, because little do we know, we ourselves are we have internalized homophobia, internalized biphobia or transphobia for that matter, and slowly we change the way we act. And from our actions, our online space and offline space will become better spaces for others. For online space, it could start by sharing content, watching Darwin's films online or series online to support him in creating more stories. If you're a trans woman, use Maki's app. Feel safe in what she has created. Let's help Sam in archiving history, because it's very important to see how we have come so far in terms of LGBTQIA plus advocacy, and support the platforms that have been made by Mark and Christina, so that little efforts that we do, we build a community alone. And not only that, as we build the community by itself, we also share it with allies. So I guess it's very important to see an important perspective that it is also a journey of ourselves to one, assuring that the goal doesn't end by just simply creating safe spaces. It's also sustaining it so that the children could also make use of whatever safe spaces we have created now and enjoy it for the rest of the generations to come.
Thank you, Mel. I could not think of a better way to close tonight's event. So that was such a fun, emotional, insightful roundtable. So thank you again. Big hand again to all of our speakers and to each other for having shared your stories tonight. You know, I've been hosting this for 3 years, and every year I learn something new, and I definitely learned a lot from this roundtable. So again, just a reminder for everyone who's listening today. If you want to continue the conversation on social media, just use the hashtag build with pride. I hope we all learned some valuable things, whether it be on the roles we play to cultivate safe spaces online, or how we can continue to use technology to promote diversity, equity, or inclusivity for the LGBTQ plus community across the country. So muli, I would like to thank our speakers tonight for taking the time out of their busy schedules to share their Build with Pride stories. Tonight's conversations are only part of our Pride Month celebration and our ongoing long-term commitment in supporting the LGBTQ plus community. So together, let's continue our advocacy for inclusivity and allyship. Again, it's been a pleasure to host for you guys tonight. I am Jolly Astaris of Google Philippines. Thank you for tuning in to this year's Pride Conversations and for continuing to celebrate this important month with us. Continue sharing your Pride stories and thoughts on tonight's conversation by using the hashtag #BuildWithPride. Again, that's hashtag #BuildWithPride on all your social media. And with that said, good night, stay safe, and see you again next year.